All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at a brand new study that honestly is going to completely change how you think about AI and its impact on the workforce. This is the question that's on everybody's mind, right? We see all these headlines trying to predict which jobs are on the chopping block. But it turns out that might not even be the right question to be asking. Yeah, a new report from the National Bureau of Economic Research says that just looking at which jobs are exposed to AI, well, that's only half the story. The real story is about the workers themselves. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look beyond just job exposure. Then we'll get into this new idea called adaptive capacity. After that, we'll actually map out the entire workforce using this new risk model, pinpoint who's most vulnerable, and wrap up by talking about what this means for the real world. So this study basically flips the script. Instead of asking which jobs are at risk, it says we should be asking which workers are in the best shape to handle the changes that are, let's face it, already happening. And this quote right here, this is the core idea. It's not just about the storm that's coming, it's about how sturdy your ship is when it hits. This whole concept of worker adaptability is the key, and it's exactly what the researchers decided to measure. To do that, they came up with this really interesting new measure they call adaptive capacity. You can think of it like a personal toolkit that determines how well someone can navigate a big career shift. So what is it exactly? Well, adaptive capacity is basically a score that tells you how well a worker can handle an economic shock, like losing their job, and then successfully find a new one that's a good fit. So how do they figure this out? Well, this score is built on 4 key things. 4 factors that we already know from decades of economic research are absolutely crucial for a worker's ability to adapt to change. And the logic here isn't just a guess. It's all based on historical data. Having some savings means you don't have to panic and take the very first job that comes along. Age is a big one. Historically, workers over 55 have had a much tougher time getting rehired. Living in a city with lots of jobs just gives you more shots on goal. And of course, having skills that lots of different industries need gives you way more options. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. The researchers took this new adaptive capacity score and then combined it with all the existing data on AI job exposure. And by putting those 2 things together, they could categorize the entire American workforce. And what they created is this amazing matrix that maps everyone into 4 distinct groups. You've got the secure folks, low AI exposure, high ability to adapt, and the insulated, low exposure but also low adaptability. But the real story, the action, is all in that top row. Let's start with a number that might actually surprise you: 26.5 million. That's how many workers fall into a category the study calls the well-positioned. Now, these are people whose jobs are, on paper, highly exposed to AI. But here's the twist. They also have a very high capacity to adapt to that change. And this is where the whole story really gets counterintuitive. So who are we talking about here? Well, it's the very jobs we always hear are in the line of fire: software developers, financial managers, lawyers. So why are they well-positioned? It's because they also tend to have strong paychecks, which means savings. They have diverse, transferable skills, and they have deep professional networks that give them a ton of resources to figure out their next move. Okay, but if that's the good news, this next part is the part of the study that really truly demands our attention. We have to look at that other high-exposure group, the ones with a low capacity to adapt. The researchers found 6.1 million workers stuck in what they call the at-risk quadrant. And these are the folks who are facing a scary double whammy. Their jobs are very exposed to AI, and they have very few resources to handle that disruption. And this slide right here, this reveals what is, without a doubt, the single most striking, most important finding in this entire study. Of those 6.1 million most vulnerable workers, an absolutely overwhelming 86% are women. So what does a typical worker in this group look like? Well, they often hold administrative and clerical jobs. They tend to have only modest savings, which gives them less time to find a new job. Their skills are often very specific to their role and harder to transfer, and they're not always located in the biggest, booming job markets. And listen, this isn't just some abstract data points. This is real. This vulnerability is actually concentrated in specific places. The data points to college towns and state capitals, places like Laramie, Wyoming, or Springfield, Illinois, where there's a big cluster of administrative jobs that support those local institutions. Now, it's super important to talk about this study's main limitation, because when you understand it, you see what its real ultimate value is. So, here's the big what if. The model is based on past data, right? Situations where a factory closes but the rest of the economy is stable, so workers can find other jobs. But what if AI isn't like that? What if this time is different and AI radically reduces whole categories of jobs, all at once? And this is the brilliant part. The model isn't a perfect crystal ball, we know that, but its real value is as a tool for right now. It's not a prediction, it's a triage map. It shows us exactly who is going to be hurt first and hardest. So let's be really clear about this. The study's true power isn't about predicting what the world looks like in 2035. Its power is in helping us manage the chaos of the here and now. It pinpoints the exact groups who will face disruption first and have the least ability to handle it so we can get help where it's needed most and fast. You see, this reframes the entire conversation. It's not just about guessing the future anymore, it's about acting in the present. And that leaves us with the most important question of all. Now that we know who is most at risk, what are we actually going to do about it?